Hello everybody. Without further ado, I'm gonna jump right into moving away from my FreeNas Corral. I have been burned. I've spent energy, like a lot of you, in installing, learning, configuring, tinkering, finding bugs, solving bugs, only in the end to be left out in the cold. I know the reasoning why the FreeNas Corral team is moving beyond the UI that they created and going back to 9.10 and sort of rewriting the book again, but that doesn't really help any of us who have jumped in this head first. But regardless, it gives us an opportunity to explore new things and learn new things. As always, the first thing I need to do is I need to back up my Unify controller, which I am going to be working on today, and recreate a virtual machine from scratch in VMware ESXi host, and restoring my Unify controller from backup there. So the first things first, this is going to be a long video because I'm going to be doing step-by-step guide on everything that needs to be done, transferring from FreeNas Corral to a virtual machine or a physical box if you want. I'm going to be using Debian because I like Debian. You can be using whatever your heart desires. The truth is, Ubiquiti controller will pretty much run on anything these days. So let's go to settings. Let's do maintenance. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to back up data for all time, for everything. What that's going to do is going to back up everything from this controller from 5.4.11. Okay, now that I have that, I can close my Unify controller. I can open I can go into Docker here and go down to this one, and then I can stop it. I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to uncheck auto start. I'm going to click save. Alright, so I've officially shut down the Docker container for Unify, and I will be doing all of the ones that are important to me first. So Unify, then Plex, then I'm going to do MySQL, and then TeamSpeak server, and then probably I'm going to create a Docker host on my VMware someplace, and then I'm going to explore some Dockers as well over there. Okay, so now that this is shut down, I can move on. I can actually log into my VMware host, one of them that's already up, and recreate virtual machine from scratch. And VMware host, VMware ESXi is considered type 1 hypervisor, while FreeNas was considered type 2. We are going to create a new virtual machine and set up everything for our Unify controller. So we're going to create a new virtual machine, give it a name, family 6, that's good, it's a Linux, and let's do Debian 8, 64-bit. So our storage, where we're going to save it. Now, here's the trick. I've read in specifications yesterday that Unify requires minimum of 20 gigs of space for controller to work. So if you are doing this, make sure that you have at least 20 gigs. I'm going to give it 25 just to be on the safe side. I will scale this down later on, but for now, so that it speeds up installation, I'm going to give it 2 CPUs and 2 gigs of RAM. This is way overkill for a controller. It just needs maybe, I don't know, 512 megs of RAM and 1 CPU. It should work just fine because it's just going to run a Unify controller, nothing else. I'm going to give it a NIC that I wanted to use. Client device. Now I have some ISOs uploaded to one of my storage data stores. Alright, so let's connect the data store ISO file. So we need data store ISO file, right? And let's go to our ISO, and I'm going to do the live version because it's small and it should be fast. Okay, and then we have, and make this thing provisioned. So what does this mean? Well, it's not going to eat up 25 gigs all of a sudden until it needs it. So, you know, it only takes up as much space as it needs and it expands. SCSI controller, that's fine, everything looks great. Alright, so let's go to next and finish. And it says successfully completed. So if I go to my virtual machines, I should see this newly created machine right here. Okay, and I'm going to start it up. Power on. Alright, it's coming up. You see this GUI interface. I'm gonna do graphical install because not many people actually know what to do with just a CLI. Graphical install is probably the easiest way of doing things. Alright, so English is good for me. United States, American English. Of course, you select your own. Let's call it Unify. I'm navigating with keyboard only because this console is not mouse friendly. Oh, let me go back to see what I did here. Host name, okay, that's fine. Domain name, you can skip that if you don't have a domain name on the network. Root password, okay, this is very important to remember. Do not mess that up. Remember this password. It is the only password I can do anything in Linux. Create a user, that's fine. Set up clock. Eastern time is great. Selecting disks. Partition manager, okay, starting up partitioner. And for noobs, I highly suggest guided use entire disk. I mean, don't venture in encryption if you don't know what you're doing, honestly. And while it's not hard, it's just going to require a password every time you boot. And you know, LVM is helpful, but if you don't know how the partitioning works, and just use entire disk, it's easiest. There's only one disk, so yes, all files in one partition, and you can do separate partitions for home, for bar, temp, whatnot. This is recommended for new users, so why not? Alright, finish partitioning, write changes, yes. It's going to create a swap partition as well, and now it's going to install the system. This is going to take a little while, so while it's doing this, I am going to pause so I don't bore you. Alright, that part is finished, and it says you want to use network mirror to supplement. I don't at this time. Just want to finish the installation as fast as we can. Installing Grub. So this is very minimal installation of Debian. So Grub bootloader, yes. There's only one disk, so that's the one. Okay, installation complete, beautiful. Continue. Removing live packages, great. Finish up. After we log in, I have to make sure networking is working fine, and then we can install all the packages that we want, such as maybe OpenSSH server, or and then get ready the system for actually Unify installation. Alright, so it's up. Alright, I'm gonna switch user to root by typing SU, and now I'm root. Now I have super duper administrative privileges. I can destroy the system or I can make it work. So I'm gonna do apt-get update. This is a very minimal installation of Debian. And let's see, binary release, just cd etc apt and we cat sources, security Jessie main. It's pulling the binaries from the mounted CD. So I'm going to edit these sources list by doing nano sources.list. I'm going to comment this out so that it's not looking at the local mount for any packages. So it's just looking online. And I could do a quick search on Jessie and let me do that. Debian Jessie repository. Alright, I guess we go down to U. United States mirror. Jessie updates main. Jessie updates main. Security Debian.org. Then security. Oh, that's not the same repository. Alright. And I can't copy and paste because, well, console. If you do have to modify any of this, if you get a good ISO, most likely than not you won't have to worry about any of this. I just had an old ISO laying around. Should probably download the latest ISO. Okay, so now that I have repositories for Jessie, I can do the updates really fast. Control O to save, Control X to exit. Alright, clear. App and update. Right. Let's do the upgrades. Well, that's taking its sweet time. Okay. Alright, great. Alright, so here we are at the fork in the road. Next thing I need to do is, I have this handy dandy compiled document that I am going to use. Oh, not that. We need to add repositories for Java, we need to add repositories for MongoDB, and we need to add repositories for Unify. Luckily, we're already in etsy/apt. So if I list, I see that sources.list, I'm not going to modify, that's the main sources.list file. That's the one we just added Jessie, US mirror. So where am I going to put these sources so that system knows where to find these applications, these repository sources? If you look at sources list D, so we're going to change directory to sources list.d. There's nothing here, right? So let's do touch, and then I don't know, Java, Unify, and Mongo 100.list. And so what is this going to do? It's going to create a file, an empty file. As you can see, there's 0 bytes in it. It's called whatever you want to name it, and make sure it ends with .list. And then once you update the sources, it's going to read from this file if you've made any changes to it, and it's going to add it to your sources for your software. And if you ever have to modify it, you don't have to mess with your main sources list file, you just mess with what you created here. It's a good practice not to touch the sources list file, original one anyway. Okay, so now that we have this source, let's edit it. I'm going to do nano. If I just hit the first letter and hit tab, it's going to autocomplete for me. So now I'm in this file that's empty. Like I said, I'm going to add, actually I'm going too fast. Let me try to SSH in, because then I can copy and paste. It's much easier. Exit. Alright, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to try to open a terminal client, or on Windows you could use PuTTY or whatever. SSH into that server. That will be Kroner at 192.168.1.142, I believe that was the IP address. Host verification failed. Oh, that's right. So you don't have to do this, but I've had a host on this IP address before I moved it. So remember the old hosts SSH, so this is a different one. So I'm just going to remove the key really fast and then do it again. Yes, I want a new key. Alright. See, it's no big deal. If you're afraid of CLI, then yes, you would run for the hills. Alright, so I'm going to change the directory again to etsy apt, then sources.list.d, and then our file should be inside. Yes, there it is. So nano, that file name, and here we are. Now I can actually just paste into the terminal. And before I paste, I am going to actually put this down. I'm going to put a hashtag to comment out a section and say below is Java repo, so it knows where to look, what is what in this case. So if somebody after me comes to troubleshoot some of this, they know exactly what's been done. Below is Unify repo, and then I can go down and paste Unify repo, right? So that repository is a place where you tell the system to go look for the software. And below is MongoDB repo. And then I go down to MongoDB and I add this. MongoDB latest version is 3 point something, right? But Unify specifically wants us to use version 2, and the last stable was 2.6 something. So make sure you add this repo for 2.6. If you go to MongoDB, you can select which version to use, which system, and it tells you exactly these things. So these are software repositories that we are telling the system to look for these, where the system is going to look for the software. And okay, I'm going to save this, Control O, and then Enter, and then Control X to exit. I'm going to clear the screen. Say modify. Yes. Control X. Oh, I'm not root. Sweet, I'm gonna copy this whole thing and then paste it as root, hopefully. No, I did not switch to root. SU. Nano. And then I can paste this. Great. And then Control O, Control X to exit. Clear. Beautiful. Okay, you see how that works? You're bound to make a mistake or two when you work with Linux. It's not a big deal. You just go and fix it. I mean, if you are starting up, I know this is scary stuff, but it gets under your skin, and then after you get familiar with terminal and bash or Perl or whatever, any CLI, you'll never want to go back to graphical user interface again. Okay, so now that we have sources.list, I need to add Gpg keys. For Java there's none, but for Unify and for MongoDB there is a Gpg key. Alright, so I'm going to just copy this and paste. That's why I like using terminal. apt-get, add adv, and then key server ubuntu.com, and receive the string, right? So, and you're going to see this Gpg imported 1 RSA. Okay, that's very important. If it doesn't say that the key was important, it's not going to work. Same thing for MongoDB. I need to add the key server so that it can import the RSA key. So when it talks to software repository, it can make a handshake using secure this RSA key. And this one is imported as well. Alright, so what's next? I'm going to clear the screen again. So the next thing I have to do is I have to install Java, because 3 things are needed for Unify controller: Java, MongoDB, and of course Unify software. So that's when we're talking about Linux headless unit like this. Let's do Java first. So we just need to do this update install Java package, right? Let me see if this is gonna work. It should. Unable to locate Java package. Ooh, I know what I did wrong. I didn't update the sources list. So apt-get update. I've created those sources for Java and for Unify, but I didn't do the update. so it didn't read those sources yet. So you have to go through this, and I have in my main sources list from Debian I have errors, but I'm going to ignore these for now because we're just going to focus on what's important here. Alright, now that I've done update, now I can do Java installation. Yes. Alright, so it's going to download 40 something megs and it's going to install. Depends on your speed of your internet how fast this goes. Alright, now I have Java. So what's the next step? Well, next step I have to do MongoDB. So I'm just going to do apt-get install MongoDB -org. Yes. Let's see, so it's going to download 100 megs worth of stuff and install it. Alright, so MongoDB is up and up. And let's do install Unify controller. So apt-get install Unify. And I think I made a mistake. This is not supposed to be stable, this is supposed to be Unify 5. Unify 5. I read that last night and I did not catch this, or I didn't catch this before. Luckily I didn't try to install anything, so I can go back to sources.list, nano, edit that file really fast, go down and change this stable to Unify 5. Control O to write it, Control X to exit, and then I can do apt-get install. No, I have to do update. Get update to update that repository. If you want to update repository from the sources list. Okay, so and then I can do apt-get install Unify. Yes. Alright, so Unify controller is installed. Let me do system ctl status Unify. It's already running, so let's check our IP address. It's 142. We can test this hypothesis by doing this. So it's https 192.168.1.142 : and the port for Unify control is 8443. So I'm not seeing it come up, which is okay. It's freshly installed system. We probably need a reboot and whatnot, but before I do the reboot, the last thing I want to try out is I want to set up, this is completely optional, I want to set up a static IP address. How do you do that? Well, let's navigate to Etsy network. So LSLA. Okay, so we have this interfaces list right here. You can back it up. You can do copy CP interfaces to interfaces.back, just in case if you ever need to refer back to it. So if I list now, I should have interfaces and the backup of that file interfaces, right? So if I modify this file interfaces, I already have original backup that I can restore from. So let me edit interfaces. Nano interfaces. Alright, so we want to change this to a static IP. So this is all great except this part. I'm going to comment this out. You comment things out by putting a hashtag symbol in the front, and I'm going to do iface, which stands for interface, eth0, the name, same name of that interface, enet static. Okay, actually I'm going to space it out a little bit. So address 192.168.1.88. Let's do net mask 255.255.255.0. Let's do network. That would be 192.168.1.0. That depends on your subnet, obviously. Broadcast. That would be 192.168.1. and then 255. And gateway is 192.168.1.1, a firewall. And then Control O to write it out, and Control X to exit. Now this is not going to take until we reboot or restart the network interface. But before we do that, I also want to do the DNS. I'm going to skip IPv6. You don't need IPv6 most likely. So let's go to change directory to etc, and then let's do resolve.conf. We need to modify this file with name servers. So nano name server, that's good, and then we're going to add another one, name server, just in case. Alright, I like that. Control O, Control X, yes. And now I can reboot the whole system. Sudo reboot. I don't need sudo on root. Reboot plus sudo wouldn't work. I didn't install sudo on this Debian. Sudo is Ubuntu thingy. Comes if you are doing Ubuntu server. That would be. So this is going to reboot. I'm not going to see anything until, well, it reloads. Okay, so it's booting up. I can see it there. Come on, any second now. Is it up already? Oh, I misspelled. $188, it is. So it's rebooted. That was really fast reboot. So let me go back into Alright, I'm going to close this terminal, open a new one. So SSH crawler at 192.168.1.88. Yes. What? Oh, that's not the correct user. No wonder. SSH crawler at 192.168.1.88. It's very easy to make a mistake, especially when you're going faster than you can see. Let's see now. All right. So system control status Unify. Service is running. Okay. Has Java, has MongoDB on port 27117, it seems. Everything looks great. So let's change this to HTTPS 192.168.1. And now the IP address is 88. And we have our controller, so I just needed to reboot it. You see that? And now you can restore from previous backup. Okay? And then you're good. You just hit next, and in a couple of seconds you will be great. So guys, this is the first video of us abandoning the ship, sinking ship of FreeNas, and going back to reality of headless units. You know, this headless unit is not going to take up that much space. Today's space is cheap, so I can drop in a terabyte SSD and have 20 VMs easily running on a low power server like mine. So it's not a huge deal. I would have preferred Docker, but I am going to actually set up, when I killed the FreeNas, I'm going to set up CentOS as a Docker host on that server under the VMware hypervisor, and then we are going to do Dockers there as well. But for now, this is the intro. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You see how things can be done, and you have flexibility with Unify and with anything really. The next one is Plex. I'm going to do the same thing from scratch for Plex, so stay tuned. I'm going to try to do that soon, pump out as many of these videos as I can, because Plex is very popular and people have a right to know how to do this. So enjoy it, and you know, have a great day. I'll see you on the channel again. Bye.